Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith Phillips and I have a little bit of a hodgepodge video for you today. I did one of these at the end of last year, I think, where I just have like a bunch of like unconnected things to like share with you, and none of them are really enough to do like a whole video dedicated to it. So this video is going to have 4 different segments. I'll put some timestamps in the description. If you don't care about one thing in particular, you can skip to the next one. It's just all of the random stuff in one video. A hodgepodge video. So I have a book recommendation for you. I have an announcement to make. I have my plans for draft 3. Yes, I am finally going to get started on a draft 3 here this coming week, which I'm really excited about. So we'll go over draft 3 thoughts and plans. And then what's the 4th thing? Oh, the mini Q&A. I have like I put out a very last minute call for questions for a Q&A. I got some questions and I'm going to answer them. So let's get started. First off, book recommendation. This is, I guess you would say, a craft book. I haven't even finished reading it yet. I'm on page 47, but I'm already like, this is amazing. It is Dreyer's English. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. It's by Benjamin Dreyer, who is like the chief dude at Random House, ? Chief editor guy. That's his official title, editor guy. This, okay, now if you're like, ew, grammar, like I am not, no thank you. This is so incredibly entertaining. I think even if you were a professional editor, you could pick this up and just enjoy it because he writes it. He's so funny. He's very clever and witty with how he presents the information. It's very engaging, very easy to read. This is not like a grammar textbook. It's how to polish your prose, how to say things in a more efficient manner. But I'm really enjoying it so far. He is a proponent of the Oxford comma. We love to see it. And so yeah, I would highly recommend this. I'll put a link in the description to pick up a copy if you want. Second thing is an announcement. It's like a pre-announcement announcement, I guess. Anyway, I'm really excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm mostly just excited. I decided to start a Patreon. It is not available yet. It will be going live on Friday, September 6th, which by the time this video goes up, that should be 3 weeks from now. I've thought about doing this for a long time, honestly, maybe since like the beginning of the year / late last year. But there were 2 things holding me back. Number 1, I was like, what do I even offer? Like, typically you offer something to the people who are signing up, right? And I was like, I don't know what I would offer. And then the second thing was honestly just like, I think a pretty standard fear of like, well, what if I start it and like nobody signs up? And that was holding me back from it. The last week, I was just kind of like thinking about it, and I had a bunch of ideas for what I could offer in the different tiers. I think some of them are really fun. There's one idea in particular. I don't think I've seen another writer Patreon offering this kind of thing. Maybe that means it's a bad idea. Or maybe I'm just a genius. But I'm really excited about it. I think some of the ideas are really fun, and I hope it'll be something that is valuable and interesting to you. The other thing about like, you know, oh, what if I start this and nobody signs up? Like, that's a valid fear. I know there are people who have started things like this and like it does not get any kind of interest from anybody, which is disheartening. I get that. But at the same time, like, what's the downside? Like, what is the consequence if I start this and nobody signs up? Like, I spent some hours of my time working to set it up. I haven't spent any money on it. Like, there's really no downside. So I'm going to give it a try. I've been trying to think a little more strategically in terms of like streams of income. I do get about a whopping $40 off of YouTube on a monthly basis. So that's pretty impressive, I know. And I'd love to just kind of explore some other options. There's some other things I'm thinking of too that wouldn't be directly related to like social media or something like that, but just some other things. I'm just thinking about like how to build a career out of writing in some capacity. I think we all know that the vast majority of authors, whether self-pub or trad pub, most people are not making a full-time living wage off of just their book sales or like book deals. That's the rare author. Most authors have a day job, or they have side hustles, or they have multiple things that they're doing to bring in some sort of livable wage. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just kind of like thinking and trying to experiment and try things out and see what works and what doesn't, and this is one of those things. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna share some more details with you guys over the coming weeks, and then, like I said, it'll go live for you guys to check out on Friday, September 6th. Oh, I do want to make sure I make it clear. There's absolutely nothing that will be changing here on this YouTube channel. You'll still get all the same videos that you've always gotten. You'll still get like the same amount of content. I'm not planning to like only put certain parts of the vlog here and save the rest for Patreon. Like, I'm not going to do that. So all of the normal vlog, all of the normal content stuff you usually get from here for free, you're still going to get it. So please don't be worried that I'm like gonna start putting stuff over there that you're used to getting here. It'll all still be here. The Patreon stuff will be like extras, new stuff, chances to connect more with me and other writers and things like that. It's editing Meredith here. I had this note in the notes that I used to do this little video, and I totally didn't say it in the video. But if you have anything that you would like to see on Patreon, let me know. I have, you know, like I said, my own ideas, but if there's something in particular where they're like, oh, I love when people offer this kind of thing, like, let me know. I'm not guaranteeing I'm gonna be able to do it, but I'd love to have your input on that kind of thing as well. Okay, back to past me that didn't read her dang notes. So, segment number 3 here. Draft 3. What a perfect, I definitely planned that. Yeah, draft 3, let's chat about it. So I finished draft 2. When did I finish that? A couple weeks ago now. Mid-July, we finished draft 2. And it has then been with my critique partners, getting their feedback. One of the critique partners is probably gonna finish it this weekend or like by Monday of this coming week. And by this coming week, I mean the week of the 12th. You're seeing this on the 16th. I'm filming this prior to that. So the week of the 12th, she'll definitely be finished with it, and I'll have like one complete critique partner's feedback on it. The other critique partner is a little over halfway through, which is totally fine. So I'll be still collecting feedback from her, but she's, you know, she's looked at the first half plus of it. So I feel ready to get going on a draft 3. So what am I going to be doing? First things first, I like to always start with just a complete reread of the entirety of draft 2. I'm not going to be taking notes at that point. I'm just going to sit and read the book for like the millionth time already, but that's fine. I'm gonna sit and reread the whole thing and just kind of take it in as a whole. If there's anything in particular that stands out to me in terms of like, ooh, this needs to be fixed for sure, I might jot that down, but generally I'm just gonna reread the whole thing. After that, I'll go back through and take more detailed notes on each chapter, what kinds of, you know, character arc or plot things that need to be fixed up, stuff that needs to be mentioned earlier. If there's loose ends that don't really get tied up, there's one in particular I'm thinking of right now where I'm like, you didn't really like finish that. So yeah, we'll be thinking about all that kind of stuff as I get started with that. I think the plot at this point is fairly well in place. I don't anticipate needing to like scrap entire chapters or like rewrite all of Act 3 or something like that. I did a lot of that kind of stuff for draft 2. So unless my critique partners get to the end and they're like, ooh, hold on a second, I really don't feel like that's something I'm going to be doing. It'll be much more like scene by scene, chapter by chapter kind of fixes. I'm going to go ahead and combine the critique partner feedback into one Word document. So I have like chapter 1, critique partner number 1, all her notes, and then CP number 2's notes. So you can combine comments on Word documents in case you didn't know. I'm going to do that. So I'll have everything compiled in one document, which will just make it easier to look at. I'll have my own notes on each chapter, and then I'll be able to go in and start making all the changes. I did already prep my Scrivener document to start draft 3. I like to keep all of the drafts for a project in one Scrivener file. I think some people make like a new Scrivener file, like a completely new file for each draft, but then you'd have to have like older drafts open if you wanted to look back at something. So anyway, what I do is I just duplicate the folder that has like draft 2 in it. I rename it draft 3, and then I go in, I've deleted all of the draft 2 like notes to myself. I deleted all of that out of the new draft 3 files, and now it's just sort of sitting there blank ready for me to go. I am hoping to get through this draft 3 relatively quickly. I'm trying not to feel like I'm behind. My original goal was to finish draft 3 by the end of August. I don't think that's realistic at this point, especially since one of the critique partners hasn't even finished it yet. I think she'll be finished with it by the end of August. I think. We'll see. But I do think I could finish it by the end of September. At that point, I'm actually thinking I might send it to an alpha reader. I haven't asked her yet, so she might not be able to do that. But I've alpha and beta read for her a bunch of times, and she beta read for me last year. So I think she would be open to it. I just don't know, like, if that's going to be a good time for her, you know, like if she's busy with other stuff or something. Anyway, so I'd like to get like 1, maybe 2 alpha readers to go through it and kind of give me feedback. Last year what I did is I went in and I did like a draft 3 using my critique partner notes, and then I sent it back to the critique partners for like another read through, which is fine. Like I could do that again, but I kind of want to try out an alpha reader and see how that goes. Then of course I'd want to use that feedback to fix up different things. And then beta readers, I'd like to squeeze in like a full round of beta readers by the end of the year. We'll see. We'll see. I know, like, you know, school goes back in session, then we got all the holidays at the end of the year. It gets very busy, so I don't know how that'll work. It'd be kind of nice to get maybe like 3 beta readers. Last year I had 6. That was a lot. But I also didn't utilize the idea of doing rounds of beta readers. You can do like 3 beta reads and then implement feedback and then get more beta readers to look at it further, right? So, you know, there's a lot of different options. I definitely want to get some different eyes on it and go from there. So that's kind of the general plan through the end of the year, really. But specifically for draft 3, we'll see if we can get it done by the end of September. Okay, final segment here. We have a little mini Q&A. So first from Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Do people in your real life, family, friends, etc., read your writing? No. The only people who have really read like complete books of mine are my critique partners and then last year's beta readers. I have a local writing group, and in years past, we've swapped chapters or snippets, and like we do still share things occasionally, but not in a critique format. It's usually just like, hey, I want to share this with you guys. And it's just nice to share our writing. It's not meant for, nobody's asked specifically recently for like a hardcore critique on their work or something. Those are the only like in-person people I've ever shared stuff with, but generally it's just the CPs and the betas. So no family and no friends. And her second question was, did you get more bunnies or are you fostering? We are fostering. We don't have more bunnies. I'm not planning to get more bunnies. I am tempted sometimes because they post pictures of bunnies that are ready for adoption and they're so freaking cute. No more bunnies though. We took in this pair. When did we get them? In June? Something like that. We've had them for like 2 months now. They are going to be leaving here in the next couple weeks though. This was like a short-term thing. One person had to get them out of their house for reasons. They didn't have anybody to take them until August. And so she was like, could you just kind of like squeeze them in for a couple months? So I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it for a few months. But we're not long-term fostering. Like I'm not taking another bunny or pair of bunnies after we say goodbye to these 2. I'd really rather be on like emergency kind of basis. It's just like another thing to be responsible for. And I just don't really want to be responsible for it, honestly. Yeah, so they're just fosters. Susan had a couple questions. She wanted to know what my husband does for hobbies. He has hobbies that involve a lot of little pieces. Lots of little things that you need little drawers and like buckets for. So he likes stuff like Lego. He has a lot of Legos, and he's a musician. So he mainly plays like bass guitar. And so he has like, I don't even know, like there's so many like drawers. Oh wait, there you go. He has like drawers of like screws and thing. I don't even know, like cables, and there's lots of little pieces, little tools, and I think he spends more time like taking apart the instruments and putting them back together than he does actually playing sometimes. But those I think are his 2 big ones. He likes pens, like fountain pens. So there's a lot of fountain pens and fountain nibs and bottles of ink and paper and like all that kind of stuff. Hobbies with little things. Those are his hobbies. Susan also asked, is Texas where it's at? If not, where would you want to live? Texas is not ultimately where it is. It's fine. I don't hate it here, but I definitely do not love it here. I would like to move somewhere farther north, somewhere where I have the chance of snow and with more defined seasons. It's really just hot 60% of the year. And then the other 40%, it's like a mild fall temperatures, which isn't my favorite. We moved here in 2019 before the housing market went crazy. And we could actually afford, we bought a house. We could afford. That's one of the big reasons we moved here is the housing was so affordable. The housing is no longer affordable. We would not be able to afford this house. If we had what we had for a down payment, we wouldn't be able to afford anything in this area. We would have to move out to like the boonies to afford anything like relatively intact, which is ridiculous. So in some ways I kind of feel stuck here at the moment. If we sold the house, we would make a good profit. I will say that. Like, we've made some of our own improvements, but then just like the way the housing market has like exploded in terms of sell prices, it has appreciated in value way faster than normal. So we will make a good amount when we sell it, but then everything else has gone up in price too. So I don't know. We're not moving anytime soon. So we're here for a while, but yeah, eventually I'd like to go somewhere north. Susan also asked, how do you have the energy to write after a full day of work? And the short answer is I don't. Most of my writing during the weekdays is done in the morning. That's why I get up at 5:30. That gives me about an hour to do writing work. Then it's kind of like it's done. I feel accomplished. I made progress and I'm good with that. Sometimes I'll come back here and I'll be able to do a little more, like maybe between 4 and 5 o'clock. Maybe between 7 and 8 o'clock. I usually am not doing like hardcore writing stuff at that point though. If anything, it's usually writing adjacent stuff where I'm like reading a craft book, watching a video on writing of some sort, doing something else that isn't quite as mentally taxing as like writing, you know what I mean? If you're feeling like you do not have the energy after work, try getting up early in the morning. I know that doesn't work for some people, like they just can't handle it, which is totally fair. But if you've never tried it, give it a shot. I really enjoy it. It is kind of painful at the beginning when you make yourself get up that early, but it's really worked well for me. Vicky had 2 questions. The first one is actually a rude question, and I can't believe you asked this. What are your top 5 favorite romance books of all time? How could I choose? I literally was going through my Goodreads like this one, maybe these ones. Oh my gosh, how could I be? Okay, I'm gonna give you 6 because that's what I ended up with. 2 of them are like absolutely, yes, favorites. I love them. The other ones are just like, I rated them 5 stars. They're fantastic. I loved them. Are they like my favorite of all time? I don't know, but they're really good. So I will recommend these. Number 1, Only Beloved, Mary Balogh. That is my favorite romance book of all time. Mary Balogh is my favorite historical romance writer. It is the 7th book in a series though. So I don't know if I would like recommend it. I would recommend the series. The series is fantastic. And I think you could read it as a standalone, that 7th book, but it's so much more satisfying if you've read all the rest of them because the main hero character in it, George, you've seen him in all of the previous books and you've seen little hints at his backstory. And he's just like this really warm, loving, fatherly kind of figure. But there's this undertone of sadness and loneliness to him. And then book 7, he finally gets his book. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So I really love that series. And that final book is just the best. It's just the best. I love it so much. Then, of course, we have Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. A classic. This was actually the very first romance book I ever read and I was hooked. I was like, this is perfect. It's Sebastian Lord St. Vincent. Like, we love him. He's amazing. He's kind of a douche at some points, but then you're just like, I just love him so much. So anyway, yeah, that one's really good. I love it. I think I have to mention, since I did like a whole video about it last week, Business Casual, B.K. Borison. If you like small town cozy romance, it takes place on a Christmas tree farm. How much more cozy can you get? It's really lovely, well-written, beautiful romances. The whole series was 5 stars for me, and that 4th book was just like chef's kiss perfect. I have to mention Erin Langston. She wrote Forever Your Rogue, which is amazing. It's great. We love it. Really beautifully written. I actually really love the cover for that book too. I like it when the models are just like smiling and happy with each other on the covers. I think that's so cute. And then I think even more, everyone loves that book, okay? I've never heard someone read it and be like, meh, this sucked. Like, actually, what's wrong with you? The one I actually like better is the sequel novella, Some Winter's Evening, which features the brother of the main character in the first book. That one is really good. You could read that as a standalone, I think, and it would still be a lot of fun. It's more fun if you've read the first one, but both of those together are excellent. 2 left. Harper St. George's The Devil and the Heiress. I used this as a comp for my book. That one's really well done. It's like a road trip. Is he a rake or is he just like, I forget what his deal is. He's not a good person. And she's wonderful. We love it. It's just great. And the road trip element is so much fun. He's so gone for her from like the beginning. It's wonderful. And then finally, I'll give you another contemporary, Christina Lauren's Love in Other Words. I've read a boatload of Christina Lauren books. I've read the early stuff and I've read like newer releases. I like all of them. This I think is their best book. It is so beautifully written. It's a little bit different style. It's not the typical like rom-com that they're more known for nowadays, but this was just really beautiful. It's like a childhood friends to lovers kind of thing. Second chance to, oh man, it's really good. It kind of jumps back and forth in time, and it's just the way the relationship develops when they're teenagers is just so sweet, and they're just, oh, it's just really good. Oh. It's the kind of book that when you finish it, you just want to like hug it. So anyway, those are my recommendations / favorites for the moment. Vicky's second question was, when and how do you take the leap from outlining to actually writing the first draft? Like, when do you consider your outline to be done, and how do you get into the groove of writing? I spend a long time on like the brainstorming and outlining stuff. The last 2 books, I've spent 3 solid months doing all of that. I like to have a really detailed outline. I know myself as a writer, and I know if I start a first draft with like blanks, I am not going to know what is supposed to be in that blank when I get to it. So I want to figure it out beforehand. Otherwise, my drafts just end up so incredibly messy. It's horrible. I do have a whole entire video on my outlining process. If you haven't checked that out, I'll link it below. But how do I know when it's done is when I really don't have any more questions about like what's going to happen here. How is this character going to react? How are we going to get from this point to this point? I have it all mapped out. And when I really can't see any questions about like, how is this gonna work? Like, what is their rationale at this point? Like, if I don't have any more questions, it's probably ready to go. And then how do I get into the groove of writing? I think really it's become habit. Like I said, I get up and I do a lot of my writing first thing in the morning. And it's just like, that's what I do. I get up, I go to the bathroom, I get some coffee, and then I sit down, I pull up my documents, and I get started. Like, that's the routine. It's just what I do. There's nothing else to do early in the morning. None of the dogs are awake yet. Nobody's making weird noises anywhere else in the house. There's nothing else to distract me. And so it's just like, that's what I'm doing. There's nothing else. So that's usually what helps me, is just make it a routine. I got one final question as anonymous, and it was, how are things going with Jade? Things are going okay. We did make some changes maybe a month and a half ago now to her medication, both in terms of how much she is getting and when she is getting it. And that's made a big difference. She is no longer waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Yay! Thank God. That was a fun 6 months. That's been pretty much solved. And then the other way we added in an extra dose of medicine like mid-afternoon, and that's also really helps kind of just like chill her out a little bit. We know like what's going to trigger negative reactions from her, and so we both are trying like really hard, obviously, to avoid that, because I think if provoked, she would absolutely still go after you and bite. Like, that aspect of it hasn't necessarily changed, but our management of it has changed. So it's going okay. Could be better. It's better than it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I would say. That's the Jade update for you. Anyway, this video is entirely too long, but that was fun. If you have any other questions that you didn't get to ask, let me know in the comments. I'll either answer them in the comments or I can do another little mini Q&A in a vlog or something coming up. Next week, you should actually get an actual vlog from me. What a surprise that'll be, huh? So that should be fun. I'll be starting draft 3. That's exciting. But for this video, I think that's about it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, you can click the subscribe button. I post videos on Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.